Hey guys, just finished watching Marvel's Runaways, Season 2, Episode 5, Rock Bottom. Wow, what an episode. So much stuff really kind of goes on here. Let's jump right into the list here. We got Topher start off the episode with Topher kind of, you find out that he was kicked out of his parents' house. And he tells a bunch of different stories, just type thing. We find out they're all pretty much kind of, pretty much not real type of thing. He's not really the truth too much. And then we find out that, Topher tells him that, he's getting powers from the rocks and stuff, just kind of like Molly did back in the day. Molly doesn't need the rocks anymore to get the powers, but because she was so young with such a big piece and stuff. But Topher, he needs the rocks to get like a high from it, and that's where he gets his powers and stuff. So I think that's kind of interesting doing with that. They're clearly not doing any of the vampire stuff. I think that's going to be interesting to see. They're completely kind of rewriting the character, at least from what I've seen from the comics and stuff, really researching about the comics and his storyline in the comics. And I guess they don't want to use the same character name, but they want to just kind of have it completely different. And he doesn't really kind of betray the team. I mean, obviously he's lying the whole time and stuff, but he never really betrays the team. In the comic books, they end up kind of bringing him in and taking care of him, and he becomes part of the team and all that stuff. And then they find out that he's a vampire, try to kill them, right? And then there's that kind of betraying the team. Whereas here, they never really let him in. They always keep him at an arm's distance. I mean, Molly lets him in, but the rest of them really keeping him at arm's distance. So he doesn't really do that much damage, as if he doesn't do that much damage to the team, as if, they had to let him in. Maybe if Nico had a relationship with him or something like that. Like in the comics, at least, I think he tries to, approach her. He flirts with her, but she kind of denies him, right? But here, everyone keeps him at an arm distance except for Molly, and that's really, there's not as much damage there as if, they'd all brought him in completely, right, and trusted him. So we see Molly shows Topher the wall that they put together, that Alex had put together with all the information, all the stuff going on, kind of everything that's going on with them and Pride and stuff. We see Jonah ends up showing, we go to Jonah and Carolina, which they're still together from last episode when they were kind of going into the hole, and he ends up showing Carolina his ship, and he tells her that his ship crash landed there, like, it predates human history. So I looked it up. That's around, he said, that means that was at least 5,000 years ago, if not more. So Jonah could be 10,000 years old, and I think that's kind of interesting, playing with that. Is he getting sick or not feeling well because he's 5,000 years old, and if he's over 5,000 years old, how old is Carolina? Now, I'm assuming that Carolina is only like 15 years old, so she's probably, like, if she's only 15 years old, gonna live like, thousands of years, and all that stuff, then I think that's going to be interesting to kind of play with the idea that, she might outlive everyone. How is that going to affect her relationship if she figures that out, that, oh my God, how old are you? Jonah's only a couple of thousand years old, right? Because he had all these sacrifices, but how long has he been doing these sacrifices? Have the sacrifices only started since he met Leslie Dean, which for him, if he's immortal, right, then it really doesn't. How long has that kind of been lasting? Did he have another set of Pride before, this version of Pride? Who was getting him the sacrifices before? Was he doing it all himself? Because it doesn't really look like he was, always in enough good health to kind of, find the Runaways himself, right? So I think that's going to be interesting to see, to play with that, to see how long does it take? Will it take for before Carolina has to start, absorbing sacrifices and needs, other people to live, right? And if she doesn't do that, will she live a normal human size lifespan, and be able to live and grow old and die with Nico? I think that could be an interesting thing to play with that. The idea of not knowing that, how is that gonna play, and I think that's going to be quite interesting to see, as to kind of where things go with that. And is Carolina 100% Gaborum or something like that? I'm not just clear if he's Gaborum. He doesn't really say what the name of his race is, because Gaborum, is not mistaken, is those giant creatures from the comics, right, that they worship. But I don't think Carolina and him are really Gaborum, right? But is she 100% the same race as Jonah, or is she kind of a half-breed, right? Half human, half alien, with Leslie Dean as part there? Or is Leslie Dean pretty much just kind of, maybe she did give birth to her and everything like that, but maybe she's still 100% alien, and Leslie Dean, like I said in the last review, which Leslie Dean could just be kind of the surrogate who just kind of, literally just grew Carolina inside of her, and that was it. Not really anything, no real part of DNA, right? I think that could be something interesting, playing with that. to seeing as to where things go with that. We find out that his ship is stuck in the ground, and there's a bunch of people in there, and Carolina is introduced to her brother, and that's when it's kind of interesting, is that, a full brother, step brother, half brother, is this a brother that's part of, I guess, maybe a brother that's not from Leslie Dean. How does that kind of connection go there? I think that could be interesting to see that, as to where things kind of go there. I think it could be interesting like that, and how many people are inside of that ship, how big is that ship? We really don't see as to how big it is, but I think it's going to be interesting to see as to kind of where things could go for all that stuff. So I think it's going to be quite interesting to see as to where things kind of go with this whole, whole stuff. We see Topher tells Gert that he can get some of her meds out, so she instantly kind of, she's always worried about everything, but when she says that he can help get her meds, she instantly warms up to him like that, and I think that's kind of interesting with that, and we talked about getting her meds, and she's kind of completely switched over, right? I think that was kind of fun playing with that there. We see that Carolina, when she finally gets back to the house and stuff, she tries to fry Alex's new computer, the one they stole from the school. She has her hand on it, about to fry it, and that's when kind of Nico shows up, and she doesn't get an opportunity to fry it. And I think that was interesting playing with that. And there was a point later on in the episode where, at the end of the episode, where Alex and Chase were kind of just talking about what's going on, and they see, Carolina and Nico in their room. You let the glow coming from out of their room, right? And they're having fun. And I think that's kind of interesting. I was hoping that, it's a dark scene when they go back into the computer room, and they're talking. Chase is asking Alex, do you want to have a relationship? He's like, no, I'm just worried. I'm just focusing on the computer right now. Focus on what the task at hand, right? And I think that's kind of interesting playing with that. And I was hoping that he would kind of notice at some point that, oh, it's charred, well, looks charred, just like, and they would instantly recognize that who's the only person who could burn on the laptop like that, burn a computer like that, who could, and question, see a small handprint. But I guess she didn't have time to actually touch the computer, but she was touching it. I guess she didn't really melt the plastic or charred the metal around the computer, because it's unclear if that tower is it plastic or metal. If it's an expensive computer, which the Pride said earlier on that it was $100,000 computer, assuming it's metal, so it could be some sort of kind of, I guess it wouldn't really scorch that easily, but if it's a plastic container, it could have been some melting or something, a little thing just to kind of, someone just, Alex or Chase go, what's this, and then kind of start to question Carolina, because I think that's one thing that I'm surprised that no one's seeing this. It seems so obvious that she has something that she's hiding, right? And no one else can see this. Every time when Alex was hiding what he was doing, that everyone saw through it. Now, he wasn't making up excuses. Carolina was making up excuses, but every time she goes and meets with Jonah, but her excuses are always terrible. Like what she said the last episode, she was gonna go for on Hollywood Boulevard, dress up as someone and take photos with random people. Like, that's the worst thing you could do. Those things are gonna go online. Parents are clearly gonna find those out. That's kind of a terrible thing to do. So it was just kind of stupid the way things were going with that. Even if she hand sells Polaroid, someone's going to take the Polaroid and then scan it, put it on the computer, take a photo of it, put it on Instagram, and then the Pride's facial recognition software will pick that up, right? So that's going to be kind of silly going there. And we also had Chase, let his old friend from school post a picture, which is kind of silly there, but whatever. So we see that Pride, like I said, they find out what they stole at the school from Ethel type thing, the girl who had the master key, who took a selfie with Chase, and surprised he even let that happen, right? But then again, whatever. I'm glad they didn't go with that the way, because it seemed like the way they set it up last time, when he came out, we didn't see what happened and what he did, how he got the key from her. I thought it was going to be some sort of thing that was going to create some strife between Gert and Chase. Maybe Gert has anxiety, like maybe Gert is kind of gets jealous as what did you do there, right? They never really went down that path, and I think that was really good. I just want to props him, I guess, to kind of not going down that obvious path, and you kind of look at teasing, like it looked like that path, and kind of diverting it completely a different angle for that. I think that was really cool seeing that. We see Jonah. Jonah tells Frank to get him a runaway, but Jonah ends up telling Leslie Dean later on that he just can't do that. He's not going to do that. He's not her, right? So I think that's interesting to see that. We don't really see the consequences of him going. You don't see him ever going to Jonah saying, "I'm not going to get you a runaway." I guess he's just going to not get him a runaway and let Jonah fend for himself, right? But not tell him he's not going to get a runaway. I think that's the safest way for him to do that. we see Topher took the map from to the dig site. Obviously, he wants to go there and get some more rocks, and he goes there. We find out that his parents. He was there. We found out he was a security guard at the lab when Molly's parents died, and that's when he got the rocks and stuff. And I think Molly was inside of the explosion, so that's why she was kind of embedded with these rocks. I guess didn't need the rocks to use her powers, whereas he needs the rocks to use these powers because he was a security guard from the outside, right? Came in after the explosion, so I think that's kind of interesting playing with that. And then there's a huge battle between the Runaways and Topher at his parents' place. Find out that his father has been crippled by him, and these rocks are kind of making him like a crazy junkie, right? And all kinds of stuff happens, and there's like a huge garbage container that gets kind of thrown back and forth. He throws it at the Runaways, and then Chase blasts it with the Fistigons, which I don't know why it didn't kind of eviscerate it, I mean, I know he has different controls over different stuff. I mean, when he hit Nico last episode in training, he was, he probably had them like half powered, just enough to kind of launch her, but she also had a magic. I mean, the first time she had a magic spell that stopped it, and then the second time it didn't work again, right? But she just got hit, and she got a little bit burned, but nothing too much, because she probably had it down. But if there's a giant kind of metal box, I don't understand why he didn't set them to full power and kind of eviscerate the box, or at least to shatter it into like multiple pieces, rather than just kind of throwing it far. Because what was his intention? To kind of blast? Because it's unclear. I'd like to get more deeper into the kind of I guess this is where we need a training montage or training to explain the Fistigons as to how much control does he have over them, how much does he know them, could he eviscerate, or could he blast the car and the car be completely on fire in pieces, could he could he use it on a person just enough to knock them out, if they need to get into somewhere? How much control is there in the Fistigons, and what is the stuff that really comes out? Is it deadly? How things are going like that? I think that would be quite fun to play with and to see as to how powerful is his Fistigons to do different things. Could he have blasted that container so that it didn't go flying and just without just going flying, but actually shatter it and blast it into pieces, just kind of like Superman. And his seat vision, he can control it to so many different levels. If he wanted to, he could just launch it, or he could just kind of eviscerate the thing. And I'm surprised he didn't do that, at least to shatter, blow it up into pieces, right, with the Fistigons. So that would have been something I'd like to see. Maybe that's something we need to see in a training thing. Whenever we see them train, that would be something they need to do by now. So we see Topher, like the shipping containers, it looks like it was about to go and crush Gert in the car and stuff, and I think that was a really good moment. At first I was like, oh, are they going to kill Gert? I'm like, for a second I thought they did, and then I'm like, it's Gert, she's a main character, not going to kill her off, at least not in episode 5, not a show like this where they drop the episodes. They're going to kill her off at the end of the season. That's when you're going to do it. Episode 13, like the earliest episode 10, but if not episode 13 or 12, something like that, very early on, very at the end of the episode, rather than right in the middle of it like this. That would be I would be surprised if they ever did that. I mean, I could see them killing someone off like Old Lace in the middle of an episode, so that they play with that kind of grief throughout the thing, or they'd kill Old Lace like early on in the season, to kind of play with that. But I don't see any of the kids getting killed off if ever that happens, anywhere but at the end of the season, right? That wouldn't make sense. So we see Robert tries to kill Jonah. He ends up making some sort of, he looked into the Carolina's bracelet and stuff, tries to make something to use that to kind of kill Jonah, and then he gets knocked out, and that really doesn't work out to him. He gets knocked out by one of Jonah's kind of worshippers and stuff. And that's when we see Jonah kind of brings Robert's body to Pride, and we don't see anything more of that. We find out that Gert ends up leaving everyone, and she goes to the hospital. It's unclear if she, just puts herself into the hospital, and then the hospital is like, hey, your parents are coming over. Everything will be fine now. I think that's really going to be interesting to see as to where things go with that. And we see Carolina ends up going to her mother, and she asked about, I need to talk about my father. So I think that's really going to be cool to see as to kind of where everything goes with all this in the next episode. I'm really excited to see as to where things go with that. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.